Welcome to Forbes Entertainment. Joining me now is Rob LaFranco, Assistant Managing Editor here at Forbes. Rob, thank you so much for joining me.
Always great to be here.
Of course. So news broke Wednesday that a bunch of celebrities and athletes like Tom Brady and Giselle, Steph Curry, Larry David, Naomi Osaka, and Shaq, among others, are involved in a class action lawsuit because of the downfall of FTX. So in case anyone out there is living under a rock, can you give us a SparkNote version of the FTX collapse that happened within the last week?
Yeah, I mean, it was spectacular in a horrible way. And, I think the greatest analogy for those of us who are old enough to remember it is the dot-com boom and bust. I think it was Super Bowl 2000 where almost half of the ads were dot-com companies, and who knows, probably half of them don't exist anymore. The highest profile one was Pets.com, which was the poster child. Amazon was as well, and Amazon survived, but Pets.com was the poster child of dot-com companies. They had a Super Bowl ad. They all went bust. If you watched this year's Super Bowl 2022, you saw a bunch of FTX ads, including the one we were just talking about with Larry David, which was phenomenal. And there was, there are these things that hit the cultural zeitgeist, and having a Super Bowl commercial, and there were multiple crypto commercials in the Super Bowl. This was one of them. The FTX collapse, that's just obviously horrible business management and somebody being far too aggressive with other people's money than he should have been. And now these celebrities are swept up.
Yeah, and I want to talk about those ads. So Steph Curry said in the ad, quote, "I'm not an expert and I don't need to be." And that Larry David one we were talking about, he even predicted that FTX wasn't a, quote, "safe and easy way to get into crypto." So now, not a good look. How bad is that for their personal brands?
It's hard to say exactly what the fallout will be. I mean, celebrities advertising things has become far more common. It started over in Europe and in Asia where you would see Tom Cruise or Tom Hanks advertising watches or something. I was just in Italy, and there's a huge picture of Leonardo DiCaprio, I forgot in which piazza, advertising a watch, I believe it. You don't see that too often in the U.S., but we have seen celebrities in television ads. Taylor Swift is in a T-Mobile one, and Samuel Jackson does Capital One. So it's becoming far more common. It's hard to say that any of these celebrities will suffer any personal brand blowback. I think the consumer is savvy enough to get it, and their loyalty to these stars or these athletes is far beyond any one endorsement. Honestly, journalists as well, we all got taken by this. We all look a little bit silly and didn't look under the curtain there to see exactly what was going on. I'm sure they feel the same way.
Yeah, and I saw this Twitter thread that it was right in our eyes the whole time, just between Sam Bankman-Fried's comments and stuff like that, that really you could tell that there was something, missing here, but people didn't see it till it was a little too late.
There was something, and our colleague Brandon Kutchkoden wrote a great story on it entitled "What We All Missed in FTX," and he said it on television, Sam Bankman-Fried, that is, that he had cobbled together lines of credit to support the business. Now, anytime you're in an investing business and you're doing it with other people's money, borrowed money, your returns can be phenomenal, and they were for 3 or 4 years, but your downfall comes fast and hard. And, so these celebrities, and, FTX was tossing around a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I mean, celebrities get millions of dollars in endorsements annually, but they're usually from brands that are associated with them, whether it's a cosmetic brand that's associated with a female star, or for athletes, a shoe brand or something like that. This was out of the blue, 7-figure deals being tossed at athletes, and who wouldn't take them? Now, the sad thing is that some of these athletes actually took some of their salaries in crypto. For example, we had Odell Beckham did it, Russell Okung, who was a lineman in the NFL, and they signed these deals to take some of their salary in crypto. When crypto was at like $69,000, some of them $69,000 or $40,000. Well, now it's $16,500. So again, it's that sort of, it was the same euphoria that existed in the dot-com era. Then it was the frictionless economy. Everyone in Hollywood was living in Hollywood at the time, and you would go out to lunch, and nobody was talking about the box office. They were talking about at what price they bought Amazon, because Amazon was supposed to go to $400, which was a shocking price at the time. I think the same thing was happening with crypto.
So what is happening to these deals? So a lot of these quote-unquote brand ambassadors like Tom Brady and Giselle, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, Shaq, they either got paid for the deals or they got some sort of crypto or a share in the company. So what happens to that?
And for what we do, getting the exact details on those deals is incredibly difficult. But there is some insight that we can see from the biggest deal that FTX made, which was the naming rights deal at the arena in Florida. And the deal was something around $135 million. There was an upfront payment of $14 million that the county got because they own the arena. That's paid. There was another bill that was coming due in January of $5.5 million. They ain't getting that. And it was it was a 20-year deal, 19-year deal. So they were looking at getting at least whatever that is, $5 million per year. That's dried up. They said they'll sue. Good luck getting that money. It's the same thing for Tom Brady. Same thing for any of the Larry David. Anybody who basically was, let's say they paid Larry David $1 million to do that Super Bowl commercial, and he had to tweet, 5 times a year and do whatever he had agreed to do to get paid another $500,000 a year or $1 million, however the numbers worked out. Well, he's not going to get that anymore. Not that Larry David needs it. I'm not even sure why he did it though. He probably did it less for the money and more for the profile of putting on one of the most memorable commercials in the Super Bowl. People will remember that about Larry David. The few, let's call it a few, compared to the number of fans he has who lost, the few of his fans who actually invested in FTX and lost money, they may actually hold that against him. But how many of those people are there? I think people will still love Larry David.
Yeah, and the Larry David commercial, that's the only commercial I remember almost a year out from last year's Super Bowl. That's the only one I still remember. But do you think that these celebrities and athletes how much of the onus is on them for supporting something that eventually collapsed?
Man, that's a good theoretical question, and the lawsuit that was brought this week attempts to do that. Hey, I trusted you. You're a trusted person in my life, and I took that to invest. Well, that's kind of misguided. Like, you don't know this. Like, how much should you trust this person? And the person's an actor or a lineman or a forward or a center. That's what they know how to do. Trust them on how to shoot a basketball.
Maybe not financial advice.
Probably not.
On a commercial.
I don't know that lawsuit's going to be very successful.
So do you think the lawsuit is leggy?
I don't. I mean, you can't really fault a celebrity for endorsing a company and again the company it fooled everybody. Yeah. Should you sue the regulators who missed it? Should you sue the journalists who didn't get the story? Like, it feels like a pretty baseless lawsuit.
Yeah, it seems like a bunch of finger pointing. Now, a week out, it's almost like the blame game has set in.
There's a lot of angry people.
Yeah.
And I understand it,
I mean, I could imagine, but in general, how much weight do celebrity endorsements hold?
Pretty significant. They get paid a lot of money. Again, 7-figure deals thrown at athletes, which is common with gear that they feel they can sell. I mean, there's, you watch any football, global football, not U.S. football, and you see, United Arab Emirates supports Arsenal. I think it's Arsenal. I can't remember.
It is, yeah, with Arsenal, the jerseys too.
Those are massive deals. Tens of millions of dollars a year. And that's because of the eyeballs and the loyalty and the fanaticism that those fans have for that team. It's pretty similar in Hollywood when it comes to an actor. I mean, Larry David fans are huge fans of Larry David. So anything he says, I buy this, you should too, people will do it. Howard Stern, perfect example. When Howard Stern would read the ads, if you ever listen to the Howard Stern show, there's certain ads that cost a fortune for brands to get that because they knew that he had that intimacy with his audience. Mm-hmm. So if he's endorsing it and he's speaking, it's the same thing in podcasts. A spoken ad by the podcast host is worth a lot more than just an ad that you run.
So I do want to switch gears now to Netflix, which rolled out their ad-supported subscription tier earlier this month. So first, how much is that?
The subscription tier itself, excuse me, it's about $7, I think, compared to $16, which is their current rate.
Yeah, so it's a huge decrease. And a Morning Consult poll found in August that 61% of U.S. adults who don't pay for video streaming subscriptions say the reason is because it's too expensive. So do you think that this price point would be a good price for people to reconsider that?
I think it's a smart move for Netflix, and our contributor Tony Fitzgerald wrote an excellent article on this, and it's they have had stagnating subscriber growth for quite a while now, and that's analysts are looking at going, you need to do something here, and they're everyone in that business looks at average revenue per user, and for Netflix it's about $15. It's pretty much the top of the industry right now, so they've been living in a pretty rarefied air. Most of the others are somewhere around $10. You look at Hulu, which also has an ad-supported tier, it's around $13. Disney is on the low end, a little under $5. So the analysis then becomes, can you bring in more consumers at the lower price point? Yes, they probably will. Will they be consumers that are trading down from the ad-free tier? Nobody knows that yet. It hasn't been shown. But also in Tony's story is analysis that says the ad revenue that comes in from those ad-supported subscriptions could be as much as $9.45 a month, which if you take the 7 and add it to the $9.45, well, you're above or right around what they're getting now. So it's a necessary move. Whether or not it's the catalyst to restart that growth is still yet to be seen.
And in the third quarter of this year, Netflix gained some subscribers after losing the first 2 quarters of this year, which was really unprecedented for Netflix. But do you think that this was almost too soon to announce ads, or you think it's a good idea and it's kind of, at this point, industry standard?
I think it's industry standard. I certainly don't think it's too soon. I mean, if Reed Hastings and the executives are looking at the trends that they're not sharing with the analysts and the investment community, they're seeing something that led them to do this. They're no dummies. They know they need to show revenue growth, profit growth, subscriber, but they need to show positive momentum, and they were not delivering that in any consistent scale like they had been in the past. I mean, remember when I can't remember the year that House of Cards launched, which I think was 2013. It was I wrote that down somewhere. It was 2013. And that was the breakthrough series. That was the series that made everyone go, you got to have streaming. This is really great stuff. And they have been riding that for a decade now.
It's a long ride.
It's a long ride. And the shows were premium. They captured the cultural zeitgeist. They basically captured what HBO had exclusivity to, which was incredible series, really artsy television, excellent high-end stuff. Well, now there's a lot of competition. HBO's Max is it. Amazon is doing it. Hulu's got its own with The Handmaid's Tale. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel at Amazon. There's a lot of competing original television out there. So Netflix knows it doesn't own that space anymore.
Do you think that the streaming market is too saturated then?
Lots say it. I can tell you anecdotally for myself. I would like to get them all, but I'm not going to pay for them all. Everyone knows it's, if you bought all the streaming services out there, even if you went with the ad tier, you're not saving any money from what you were paying for cable back in the day, right? And now you have to keep switching from one to the other, and it's a pain. So I wouldn't say there's too much because, good television is good television, and there's great television out there. So, and America has never been one to limit choice. So it's hard to say there's too much. There would be nice to see some sort of aggregated system, but no one really has anything meaningful on the table to bring that into fruition.
Yeah, and you were saying that House of Cards really just blew Netflix wide open in 2013, and since then they've been really unstoppable with must-see series. Like time and time again, there's always something to watch on Netflix. There's something everyone's talking about. Why do you think that they were losing subscribers to begin with?
I think that has to do with the quality of the competition and the sheer number.
It's good, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a few years ago that Paramount Global lost, or whatever it was when they changed the name. Peacock came out all within the past couple of years. Not that those have really changed the industry, but it's just more distraction. Amazon now has live streaming sports. Apple TV hasn't really broken out here, but they're still out there. So I think the issue was competition for sure.
And do you think that this ad-tier subscription will be able to help Netflix kind of put a plug on them losing subscribers?
I think it will. Yes, I think they will continue. They will add subscribers. I think the investors have gotten so accustomed to such a large number of subscribers joining Netflix, they may not be able to do that. There may just be too much. You know, the Disney phenomenon, which is when Disney came out and they suddenly hit 100 million like overnight, it seemed like. I think, those days are certainly gone. I don't think any new player would do that. And I don't think Netflix has anything in its arsenal to capture that kind of momentum. The best it could do is not lose ground.
Yeah.
Because it's still going to put out great programming. It's still considered to be one of the most creator-friendly shops in town. Nobody likes the deal they give. It's an upfront deal. You don't get any back-end. Entertainment used to exist on the back-end you'd get from syndication. That doesn't. Everyone in Hollywood always says they hate the deal, but they appreciate that Netflix is honest about the fact that they're screwing us. It's kind of, so they're still going to capture some great television. The question is, how does that translate into what people will pay for that? So I think this is a good move to keep them from losing the momentum, but I don't think it's going to be the catalyst that the street is looking for that really killer momentum.
And they have Shonda Rhimes and Ryan Murphy, so there's good content to come.
Lots
Fingers
of good content
crossed.
will be coming, I can assure you that.
That's great. So now to the actual box office. The much anticipated Black Panther Wakanda Forever came out this weekend. How'd it do?
Fantastic. In fact, it was it beat the projections. Everyone was hoping it was going to do 175 to 200. It ended up doing a little over 180, which everyone in Hollywood loves to play that comparison game, looking at weekend box office, holiday box office, year-to-date growth, domestic versus international, and at that rate, Wakanda is well on its way to doing over $900 million. Probably becomes a $1 billion franchise. I mean, if you look at Doctor Strange, which was another Marvel movie, that debuted at 187, and it peaked at just under $1 billion. Top Gun, actually, the Maverick movie, it opened with 126. That was its opening weekend, and it's of course done, well over $1 billion worldwide. That is. So they always, have to look at Top Gun came out on a holiday weekend, so there was more competition. That's the biggest problem for Wakanda is it's out now.
There's really no competition right now.
Not right now, but there's a lot of
There's
strong movies coming.
Yeah.
So
what have the reviews and responses been?
It seems to be pretty positive. I mean, I think people are, they were a little worried that without the star, Chadwick Boseman, that this ensemble cast wasn't going to carry the movie through. I mean, you have to give credit to the folks at Marvel who really are, killing it when it comes to putting out these movies and hitting the right tone. They responded well. They put together a good. I haven't seen it, but they clearly have put together a good action flick because it's filling the seats.
Yeah, and it did totally crush Black Adam, right?
Yeah, but that's been the Marvel, Disney, DC, Warner battle. It really hasn't been a battle. It's been a one-sided battle. Marvel has just been destroying DC. DC just hasn't quite ever really captured. In the totality that Marvel hasn't captured the audiences. The Batman,
why do you
always
think
strong.
It hasn't, opposed to Marvel?
As a kid, I was a Marvel fan. I hated DC Comics, so I'm just gonna say Marvel. Marvel characters are better.
So, are there more Marvel fans out there than?
I don't know the statistics on it. I think it's pretty close.
Okay.
It was always as a kid, it was a thing. You were a Marvel guy or you were a DC person. Marvel, you can't give the credit to Disney. You should give some credit because it started before Disney, and they were farming out their characters to different studios. But you do have to give a certain amount of credit to Disney because they know what they're doing. They know this consumer brand business. They know how to package it all, and they clearly have a great producing team. Now, there's new management at Warner and DC in particular. Everyone's eyes are on them, but can they do it? They're going to have to find a different kind of space in there because Marvel kind of owns the action hero space right now, and everyone knows the DC characters. Everyone knows the classic characters. So how do you take those characters put them into a film. They call it the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and create this sort of life that exists beyond the individual characters, that each movie sort of ties into one another, and that's what Marvel has done so fantastically. DC hasn't quite pulled that off yet.
And DC recently changed leadership. Do you think that will kind of steer them in a new direction that could have them better compete with Marvel?
Everyone is, that's clearly why the change was made, and everyone is looking to that. It's kind of like, let's look back at you mentioned Ryan Murphy. He signed the biggest deal in the streaming business, $300 million deal, if everything went perfectly according to plan, which it didn't, because the first couple of shows really didn't hit. And then now he's got 2 big hits in Dahmer and The Watcher. Everyone was sitting there the whole time going, they wasted their money on Ryan Murphy. And what was Ryan Murphy thinking? He probably was just putting his head down and saying, let's just keep making the shows that we know.
Let's get to Dahmer and The Watcher, yeah.
So I'm sure the new management at DC is doing the same thing. And you got to shut out the noise, and you just got to focus. It's a business of instinct. Mm-hmm. And the top executives in this business, Barry Diller used to call it the golden guts. Same in music, same in television. So you just know. You just know what the fans will want. Let's hope they have it.
Seems like Marvel has more golden guts
than
DC.
They certainly have.
But last week, we talked overall about the box office bombing tremendously in October. It hit a 21-year low. But the domestic box office grossed this past weekend $208 million, which is almost double this time last year when it grossed $109 million. Do you think that this is a sign, hey, the box office is back, or that Black Panther was more of an event that people wanted to go to?
Probably both. I think that is all Black Panther right there. Like, that is 180 of that, 183 of that was Black Panther. I mean, that was a highly anticipated movie. Everyone knew that this month when it came out was going to destroy whatever came out last October. It didn't matter.
I'd be shaking if I was like Ticket to Paradise or Black Adam.
Yeah. But box office is back. It's not rebounded back in any incredible way, but it's back and it's strong. And again, the entire industry is looking at the fourth quarter, where we have a string of hot movies coming out, including Avatar, including the new Spielberg movie that's coming out Thanksgiving. I think this year's box office is going to put everybody in a good mood this holiday season.
Good. Well, we have 6 weeks left. Hopefully they're all hit after hit, because I can't wait to see them.
Yeah, let's go to the movies.
Of course. Rob LaFranco, thank you so much.
My pleasure.